On a warm Saturday night in June, I was sitting in the Café de Flore munching on a croissant, halfway listening to the conversation going on between the two young hustlers to my right, when I heard a familiar voice call my name. I was surprised and delighted to see the girl with the streaming red hair was Pamela Morrison, followed by an entourage of notorious French hangers-on who quickly disappeared into the bowels of the floor. She sat down, we exchanged greetings, and she said that she and her husband Jim had been living in Paris since March and were enjoying themselves very much. We made plans to meet the next day at her apartment. The Morrison apartment is in the Marais on the right bank, one of the oldest and most beautiful sections of a city that is almost too beautiful and too grand. It is a few blocks from the Place Bastille. The metro stops conveniently near, and there are open-air food stalls only a few paces from their door. The apartment, situated in this very idyllic location, is also most beautiful and grand. Jim said it was a sublet and mumbled, "Can't get anything like this in LA." Jim looks better than he has in a while, certainly better than the Miami trial days. He claims to have quit drinking, has lost considerable weight, but the French food has taken its toll, and he still hasn't regained the liquorish leather-legged look of the gaunt shadow that prowled LA as the Lizard King. The days of his looking like and being the consummate rock idol are gone forever, and he's the first to realise it. He sits in his spacious, elegant Paris apartment, dressed in the most unlikely clothes for a rock star, a button-down collar shirt with a V-neck sweater over it, and chino trousers and desert boots. He is clean-shaven, and apart from the long brown hair framing a soft, childlike face, he could be mistaken for a college senior from Middle America. Jim proceeds to tell me how he loves Paris, even though neither he nor Pamela can speak French, and that he's devoting his time to his serious pursuit of writing. Pam interjects that he wants to be immortalised, and it does seem logical that a writer could achieve this state easier than a rock idol. Jim showed me a handwritten book that he's been working on in Paris and said it's nearly finished and will soon be ready for publication. We decided that we wanted to go to dinner, and I suggested La Coupole, the famous hangout of the Fitzgeralds and Hemingway, etc., during that long-gone literary heyday, which is now the gathering spot of the flotsam and jetsam of the International Artistic Society, with Jean-Paul Sartre the only remnant of its once glorious past. Jim and Pam had never been there. On the way over to the left bank, Jim muttered something about how they threw the blueprint away after they made this city, and told me about the month they spent travelling in Morocco, where they were jived out of $100 immediately upon their arrival by an English-speaking Arab who said he would find them the best and cheapest hash. Pam had her trusty Super 8 movie camera with her in Morocco, and they agreed they got some fabulous footage. Jim said that he was going to incorporate his North African adventures into something that he was planning to write. One of the reasons I like Paris so much is that it's so centrally located, not very far from anywhere, not like LA. We also went to Corsica, but it rained every day we were there except one, and it got to be sort of boring. We're going to London for a few days next week, too. La Coupole. La Coupole, with the works of Picasso, Klee, Modigliani, and 100 other famous artists adorning the pillars that hold up the ceiling. Art Deco heaven. Where Scott and Zelda once held court, Jim and Pam enter unrecognised. This is where pretender princes, models, and photographers now reign. No attention here for a former rock god, now apprentice writer, and his lady. But Jim feels the vibes of La Coupole's past and asks me more about its history. He decides, "It's really great here, but I can't help thinking about how it reminds me of Rappner's in the Village." Over dinner, Jim speaks of how the Doors are trying to rehearse without him, and that he's just been offered the lead in Catch My Soul with Tina Turner, Joe Frazier and Melanie in LA, and also a part with Robert Mitchum in the allegorical story of an Alaskan bear hunt in Norman Mailer's Why Are We in Vietnam? I'm turning down the play, and I don't think I'll do the movie because it will take up too much time when I could be writing. There's really an odd assortment of freaks here. It's amazing how crowded this place is. What I am going to do though is have a screening here for some people of my 3 films. First, a documentary of a Doors concert made by some slick, professional filmmakers. Then another Doors documentary, a much more human, violent look made by the friends I work on films with, sort of how a similar event, a concert, can be seen in different contrasting ways. And last I will show my film, Highway. S'il vous plaît, may we have some chocolate mousse for the ladies, please? We finally got back over to the apartment on the right bank after passing on the way a student riot in the Saint-Michel district. The riots go on every weekend like clockwork, and Jim and Pam said that they'd been caught in the middle of one a few weeks before. They both agreed that the riot morbidly fascinated them, then decided against stopping in the riot area. I said goodbye after a most enjoyable day with them and said I was returning, happily, to the States in a few days. Jim was amazed that I was so glad to be going back, saying, "I won't be back in LA until September at the earliest." It looks like the Lizard King has reformed and is seriously attempting to be an American writer in Paris, in the romantic tradition of the expatriates of the 20s.